My name is Megan. You're watching Miss Megan Knits. It's great to have you here with me today. We're going to talk about all kinds of things knitting and fiber related. I have some knitting, I have some crochet, I have some loom knitting, I have a little bit of sewing. So it's going to be lots of fun, so stick with me and we'll get started. So as always, I like to start with my FOs. And my first FO is the one that I'm wearing. I finished it. It's the Wharfedale sweater. I've been working on it since podcast number 1 probably, and it's podcast number 8 now, and I finally finished it. This is the Wharfedale sweater by Sarah Hayton, or Sarah Hatton, I'm not exactly sure how to say her name. The yarn is Fiberco Luma in Pearl River. I want to talk about the yarn for a sec. I did not like working with it very much. There was plant matter in it that I had to keep picking out, which was annoying, but fine. And then there was lots of fuzzes. It was fuzzing all over everything. Like I would work to knit on it, and then I'd get up and my lap would be covered in just little fuzz balls that I had to then get off. So it wasn't that fun of an experience to knit with. Also, washing it and blocking it was a little bit of an adventure because it didn't want to dry. I did the usual submerge it, let it soak with the Eucalan, and then I rolled it up in a towel and squeezed out all the water. And then I laid it flat to dry and flipped it every so often. And it wouldn't dry. It took like a week to dry. Maybe it's because I had it in my basement. Maybe it was because that's the only place I have room to block, and that's where my craft area is, so that's where I did it. Maybe somewhere with better air circulation would have been better. Maybe if it was outside in the sun it would have been better, but it just did not want to dry. So I'm not sure if that's user error or yarn error, but if anybody else has had experiences like that with the yarn, let me know. The needles I used were US size 2s and US size 4s. So US size 2s were for basically the ribbing on the cuff, for half the ribbing on the neck, the bottom part of the ribbing, and then for the bottom ribbing on the bottom. You can see about how long it is now. When I stand up, you can see it fits me pretty well. I'm actually very excited about the fit. It's really comfy and cozy and squishy. The sleeves fit almost exactly perfectly, which is really weird. And the body fits nice around the bust, but I think there's a little too much positive ease around the waist just for my body shape. I think something with a little bit of waist shaping would flatter me a little bit more. This was just a straight shape. But for a third sweater, not bad. Okay, not bad. So last time you saw this sweater, I was on the neck. It was one big piece. There were no sleeves. So you knit the neck flat and then connect the shoulder and seam it up here. What you're supposed to do is halfway up the neck, reverse the seam so that you don't get a seam there. Might have been the other side I'm talking about, but I forgot to do that because I got so just happy with my seaming. I love seaming. I've decided this. I like just sitting down and seaming some mattress stitching. It's really relaxing. That's weird, I guess, for knitting. Everybody hates seaming, but I really like it. Anyway, I forgot to do that. So you can kind of see the seam when you look at the sweater, if I can find it. I can't find it, it's not that big of a deal. So anyway, you do that. You pick up stitches for the sleeves on a flat piece. Okay, so the sweater side seams aren't sewn yet. You got a flat piece. The neck is together. You pick up stitches for the sleeve and knit the sleeve flat. I had to make pretty heavy modifications to the sleeves to make it fit me at all. And I'm very grateful that when I did what the instructions told me to do and it didn't look right, I actually pinned it together with some locking stitch markers and tried it on and saw that the sleeve came up to about here. Like above the elbow. And that is not what it looked like on the model in the magazine. She had long sleeves and I wanted long sleeves, so I had to modify things to make it work, right? I'm not sure if I did something wrong, but I did do some pretty heavy modifications to make it the way I wanted to make it. So what I did was I did the decreases as written. I knit without shaping to 34 centimeters instead of what was written, and I'm not going to reveal what was written because it's a paid for pattern, but what I did decreases just like it told me to, knit without shaping till it was 34 centimeters. Then I did 9 centimeters of ribbing instead of what was written on the pattern. This is actually more ribbing than what was written on the pattern. I wanted it to match the bottom hem. Pretty close. I thought that would be more proportionally appealing to me than doing less ribbing on the cuff and more ribbing on the bottom. I don't know. I just wanted to mix it up. And since I was already designing, making heavy modifications, I felt comfortable changing that up to be what I want it to be. I did make a mistake on the second sleeve. I did everything. I followed my notes really carefully. I forgot to switch to the smaller needle on one of my sleeves, the second sleeve, and just knit everything with the larger needle because I was so excited to be done with the sweater. I just kept knitting and knitting and knitting and knitting and didn't realize till I was about to bind off that I was like, oh no, I was supposed to switch to a smaller needle. So I grabbed my smaller needle and picked up the stitches and then pulled back and then knit up with the smaller needle. And that fixed it. The reason why I chose to fix it instead of just leaving it alone is because there was a noticeable difference between the two sleeves. And when I say noticeable, I mean I laid it flat on the coffee table and called like everyone in my family over and be like, do you see the difference between these two sleeves? Do you see the difference between these two sleeves? Do you see a problem? And like everybody went, that one's looser. That one doesn't look as good. Like, even my boyfriend politely and gently was like, is it because that one's still on the needle? And I'm like, no, that's not why. It just looks bad because I did it wrong. But anyway, I ripped it out, I fixed it. It's all good now. The sleeves match. They're not pulled evenly. They kind of go a little bit to almost my thumb knuckle when I stretch them out. And I like that. I like a longer sleeve on a sweater. And I'm 5'7", and a lot of sweaters aren't really made for 5'7" people. They're made for shorter people. So I get sleeves that are this short all the time on sweaters. And I wanted something that I could kind of pull over my thumb and kind of snuggle up into, and it's definitely snuggly. I wouldn't call this yarn soft. I wouldn't call it scratchy. It's kind of in that middle place. It's definitely warm. Yeah. Today's actually the first cold day that I could really wear it, so I'm very excited for today. I have a busy day today, so I'm going to be wearing this out and about, going shopping and going to therapy and going to take pictures of it. We're going to photograph it for Ravelry. I'm really excited. I get to spend the day with my boyfriend too. He's going to take me all these places, so he's really cute. I like him. I like him. He's my boyfriend, of course I like him. Anywho, oh, the time it took me to make this sweater, as close as I could count it. Now, I did not start counting my time until I was already halfway up the back. So this is not a full representation of how much time it took me. But I did log 74 hours, 31 minutes on this sweater from the middle of the back to finish. And if you want a full-time breakdown of how much like the back took me, how much the front took me, how much each sleeve took me, how much the seaming took me, all that, you can actually go to my Ravelry page for this sweater. I have my Ravelry linked below, but it's like one of the first links. Find me on Ravelry, you click that, it'll go to my project page, and you can find the picture of this sweater, and click that, and it will give you in the notes, all my notes, all the things I did. And so if you want to make your own, that's what I did. My next FO is a linen stitch slouchy hat from the Luma Hat YouTube tutorial, and I'm going to pull it out right now. So this is it, a linen stitch slouchy hat. I used a Luma Hat YouTube video tutorial, which I will link. She has a YouTube video tutorial for free, and she has a pattern that includes this hat and a cowl written out for $2 on her website. Her YouTube video will link to her website, so if you want to get to the pattern, written pattern, you can go to the YouTube video, click the link, go to the website, there you go. I used a Boy loom for this, the orange Boy loom that comes in a round loom set from Boy, the brand Boy. Don't like it. Talked about it in my last video why I don't like it, so I'm not going to go into that again. If you want to see that, check out my last podcast number 7. But I don't like it very much. I'm going to include a link to purchase the loom I used that I don't like. I recommend if you want to get into loom knitting, doing some research and finding a loom that is a little bit better, has better reviews. I just picked one up on a whim when my wrist hurt one time from carpal tunnel and said, maybe I can do this instead of knitting and it won't hurt my wrist. And I picked up the first loom I saw. But definitely do some research if you want to get into that for real. So the yarn I used is Stitch Studio by Nicole Bell in red. This is a super bulky number 6. It is soft, it is machine washable, It is durable, it doesn't pill, it doesn't fuzz. I love it so much. It comes in 300-gram hanks, so you actually can buy enough to make something with it. And I think they're around $10 AC Moore. It's an AC Moore brand, stitched studio by Nicole. This is the Bell version. But I believe it's around $10 for 300 grams, which is enough to make a scarf and a hat. As you can see, this is my leftovers from a 300 grams. And this hat is kind of a slouchy hat. I'm going to put it on at risk of messing up my hair. I made it a little tight because I had problems tightening the cast on. I didn't watch her separate video on that. Maybe it'd be suitable for a kid. I have a pretty small head, so it fits me, but pose, 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 pose. But yes. I gotta fix the hair now. But yes, it's a slouchy hat. I did have problems tightening my cast on row because when I looked at it, when I first took it off the loom, it was too loose. So I tried to tighten it the way she did, but I messed something up and made it too tight, and now it doesn't stretch with the ribbing. So live and learn. Some do the small head will enjoy it. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put it in my basket of things that I've made that don't have homes, and I will do something with it when I figure out what to do with it. I've occasionally donated hats and scarves to my church truck. There's a truck that they do, Mobile Loaves and Fishes, with the Plarn mat. It's a truck that goes around to the underprivileged areas, the impoverished areas of our local towns or local communities, and hands out things that people would need. So in the summer, it's usually more like sandwiches and clean socks. And in the winter, it's usually more like hats and scarves and hot coffee. You know, things like that. But this hat might go there. I don't know. I'll see when an opportunity arises. Maybe I will sell it at a craft fair one day. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I think it came out really nicely for... I'm not so good at loom knitting. It was easy. It was fun. Definitely recommend it. So, I'll stop talking about it now. The next thing I made was a sewing finished object. It was the magic bag. Now, Mom and I did this one together. We didn't really like how it turned out. So Mom actually made a different bag afterwards that came out a lot better. So that's the tutorial I don't think I'm gonna link it, but I don't think I have the link. But that's the tutorial she followed. She did a much better job than I did with her together. The tutorial was confusing. The pictures didn't help. It just didn't turn out right at all. Ta-da! So in our defense, it looks vaguely bag-shaped. There's still threads coming off of it. We didn't even bother to cut the threads because we thought it looked so bad. It just doesn't, I mean, it looks like a bag, but it's so ugly. Like this doesn't even, this is not magic. I tell you this. This is a magic bag tutorial. This was not magic. It works. It'll function. I'm going to take it today when I'm gallivanting and use it as a reusable blanket bag because that's what it's for, but I'm not proud of it or happy with it. This fabric is actually really nice though, so. And we found a coordinating fabric in our fabric stash to do the handles with, because she doesn't tell you you need that much for the handles. When she say start with this much fabric, that handles aren't included. So we didn't have enough in the same color to do the handles, but I think it looks sort of all right. My last finished object is a knitted knocker. Mine isn't stuffed. This is a knitted knocker. Now, what a knitted knocker is it's a breast prosthetic for women who have had mastectomies, usually from breast cancer. And the reason why you make knitted ones instead of buying the medical grade plastic ones is because the plastic ones are heavy, they get sweaty, they're uncomfortable, they're not affordable, really. So it's just, many women have to do without them, and many women want to fill up their bras, you know what I mean, look more to what society standards say a woman should look like. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to fit in or wanting to do that, you know what I mean? It can be a really hard time in your life when you lose a part of your body. So having something like that to kind of help you fit in society and not have to explain it over and over again might be helpful. They have really high standards for their knockers. You have to use their patterns and their approved yarn because you want the yarn to be durable and soft, really soft. Antimicrobial, most of it's cotton. My notes. So there are plenty of patterns to make a knitted knocker. If you like to crochet, if you like to knit, if you like to do DPNs, if you like to do magic loop, plenty of options for you. I used the original top-down knitted knocker pattern on DPNs with no nipple. No nipple's kind of the thing right now because the nipples were getting really pointy. And that just was looking kind of not natural. So no nipple's the way to go. And it looks kind of like this. I wouldn't say it's the easiest pattern to do. It comes out really nicely. You want to use your make one left increases for the increases. And then on the back, you do decreases, SSKs and K2 togethers. And you leave it open so you can stuff. And so the woman can adjust it herself because everybody's a little bit of a different size. So if you're trying to make it fit right, you can pull in a little stuffing, pull out a little stuffing. Get that together. You can send these in to Knitted Knockers and they will distribute them to women in need. You can also go to the Knitted Knockers website and request a knocker for someone you love or for yourself. If you're a medical professional, you might want to request some for your patients. Or at least learn about them. KnittedKnockers.org is their website. I highly recommend it. The yarn I used on their approved yarns list, Lion Brand Kobu. It's a blend of cotton and bamboo. So soft. Like I can see, feeling this knocker, why you would want a yarn like this against your skin in that kind of sensitive area, especially on like surgical scars or anything like that. I can totally see why you'd want something really soft like this. Pain in the behind to work with. Got the job done, but it was really splitty and really slippery, and the only needles I had, might as well talk about those, were the Knitter's Pride Zing double pointed needles, which are made of aluminum. Which isn't the slipperiest metal or anything, but it was just too slippery, and I was having a really hard time, especially at the beginning when you're starting with very few stitches, juggling all my stitches, making sure things didn't twist around. My poor mom, who was trying to make them with me, she's a less experienced knitter, and she was having problems, like a lot, trying to keep everything together. She figured it out, we got her started, we got her in it, but she was having a hard time. And I don't blame her. There was splitty yarn, and then the needles were slippery, and it was all slippery, and it was just hard to keep track of everything, so that's what I'm saying. Now, the question is the second one. The most commonly requested knockers are pairs of a neutral color, like a skin tone color. And of course, skin tones come in many different colors, so any of them, really. This is obviously not a skin tone color, this is blue. This was the yarn Mom could find on Amazon and get shipped in quickly, because we were going to do this as a group thing with some of the ladies of the Stitchery, Rhode Island, but I was just sick, so I stayed home. Mom stayed home because I stayed home, and so we ended up making the knockers ourselves. I'm debating making a second one, so this is still a whip on my Ravelry project page. Because, you know, we want pairs, right? Just in case. But this was just so frustrating to make. And also, I have so many whips on my plate that I'm getting really stressed that I'm not exactly sure I want to make a second one right now. So my plan is to kind of put this away for a little bit, and then if I don't make a second one in a little bit, then pull it out and send it off, just as is. Another thing, what size to make? I listened to the Very Pink Knits podcast, and she was interviewing Casey from the podcast, was interviewing one of the ladies who founded Knitted Knockers. And what she recommended was every woman knit their own size, because the more common sizes will have more knockers that way, and the less common sizes will still have knockers, but not as many knockers. So I thought that was a pretty cool idea, so that's why mine is a lovely little bee cup, because that's my size, that's how I am. But obviously, you know, some people knit all the sizes and send them in, but I think if everybody knits their own size, that's a genius idea, because, you know, the sizes that are more common will be knit more often, and then more women can receive them. WIPs. Works in progresses. First off, I have my Plarn mat. If you want to know about Plarn mats, I talk about them every time I podcast, because I'm always working on one for church. If you want to know about any of that, see my Plarn video. I will link it. It's called All About Plarn. It's on my channel. I will also link it. You can find it. It goes into detail, everything you need to know about Plarn, everything you need to know about the mats I'm making, everything you need to know. It's actually too big to show on camera here, so I didn't bring it out. But when I stand up, it's about as tall as my nose, and I'm about 5'7". I make the mats about 6 feet tall, so when I can stand up and hold it and it's about here-ish, I know that's about the right height. But right now it is about up to my eye level when I'm standing, and I'm 5'7", so that'll give you a hint to how big it is. It's really wide too, like 2 people wide. My next project is actually an original design that I'm working on that I've kind of put to the wayside because I have another project that's a priority, which I will get to. This is the reversible twist scarf. And I call it that because it has these columns of twisties and it's reversible. I am using US 10 needles, Knitter's Pride Cubics. I will link to needles that are, I think, the same needles. I think they're the same. They're the wooden Cubics ones. I'll link them in the description below. The yarn I'm using is the Lion brand Lion's Pride Wool Spun. It's been discontinued. I'm going to link you to the Lion brand page on Wool Spun so you can get the information about it. And then I'm also going to link you to a website called yarnsub.com. I just discovered this when I was poking around for links today. It's a great resource for yarn enthusiasts if you would like to substitute yarns in a given pattern. What you can do is you can plug in a yarn that maybe has been discontinued, or maybe you just don't want to use because you don't like it, and then it'll give you a bunch of similar yarns to choose from. So that way you can say, oh, I have that one in my stash, I'm going to use that one, or oh, you know, that one's much cheaper, I'm going to use that one, or oh, you know, that one's not discontinued and I, you know, looks pretty colors, I'm going to use that one, or something like that. So it's a really cool resource. You can do it with pretty much any yarn, I think. I'm going to link it with the Wool Spun results below, but you can play around with it with all your favorite yarns. But anyway, this will be released on Ravelry as a paid-for pattern. I'm thinking for $1, just because I don't want to charge too much for it. It is just a scarf, but I did have to come up with all this reversibleness in my head after watching a Craftsy class, a blueprint class, sorry. After watching a blueprint class on reversible stitch patterns, I figured out how to do reversible cables and then came up with a scarf. So I will link to the blueprint class below, and then this will be coming out. I have it all written up. I just have to finish this. But again, another project is taking its place for now, so I'm not sure how long that will be. This next pattern is a very serious pattern. There will be no laughing. There will be no smiling. No, none. Bad Megan. The pattern I'm making is from the book Cuddly Animals to Crochet, 28 Cute Toys to Make and Love. I am making, out of this book, fold over the directions so we can't see them. Don't want to give them away because I did pay for this book. Percy the Platypus. Now I am making kind of a Perry the Platypus because my platypus is teal and it's going to have a brown tail. and yellow beak. The hook I'm using for all of this is a 2.5 millimeter Knit Picks Bright Crochet Hook set. I mean, not the whole set, but this is the 2.5 millimeter hook from that set. When you last saw me, I was working on the body. Well, I have finished the body. I have stuffed the body. The body is made of Caron 1 pound teal. Once again, this is a platypus. This is a very serious platypus. There will be no laughing. There will be no smiling. It's a platypus. This is his bottom, and this is his head, and it's going to be turned flat like this. There's going to be a beak and eyes and legs and a tail. And when it has all of those components, it will be a platypus. It will not look like this anymore. I get what the author was trying to do, the designer was trying to do, by making kind of a contoured platypus instead of just a straight line, but I'm not going to tell you what it looks like. We're going to keep this a little PG-13-ish. So that's what I've got going on. I also started the beak, so I'll show that. Oops, look at that. My hook got caught on my sweater. Oh no, oh no. Okay, I fixed it. I saved the day. So the beak is going to be this yellow color. This is the yellow beak. It's going to be squished flat-ish, kind of. And it's going to go on the platypus, except it's going to be bigger. A lot of people on Reddit said I should make a crochet hat for him and make him really parry the platypus, but I'm not sure I know how to crochet a hat that looks like that. Maybe I'll find a tutorial online somewhere. Platypus. Okay, for my last trick, my last whip, I am going to talk about something I am making for my church holly fair. Every year my church has a holly fair where people donate crafts and Christmas goodies, and then the church sells them, and it's a big fundraiser. And I have been asked by one of the ladies who's running it to donate something because they see me knitting in church all the time, and they figure could knit something for the fair, which I am happy to do because I do love supporting my church. So my thought process was I'm gonna knit something that looks really good, but also something that is not too hard. So I picked the antler set, not the sweater. I picked the hat and the mittens to knit. So I'm gonna show you those. This is my antler hat. I'm knitting an adult size large. The yarn, the pattern, sorry, is the Antler Toque by Tin Can, Toque? I'm not Canadian. The Antler Hat by Tin Can Knits. And the yarn is Lion Brand Heartland. It's basically, I would compare it to an Aran Weight Home Tan USA that has less fuzzing. And I used to work with Home Tan USA all the time. I love Home Tan USA. So this really reminds me of that. I feel like it's the same material, just at an Aran weight instead of at a super bulky weight. It's also fuzzes less because it looks like it's tighter spun. The colorway was Mammoth Cave, and if you look at it, you can see it's actually multiple colors in one. The adult large. My plans are for matching antler mittens to also donate, and maybe they can be sold together, maybe they can be sold separately. I'll let the ladies selling them figure all that out, and how to price them and everything. That's what I'm so afraid of selling knitted stuff, is how to price it, because I know I spent many, many hours on it, but also it's just a hat. So it's kind of finding that balance. I'm terrible at that, so I'm going to let the ladies at the Holly Fair price it. But yeah, I did. Antler cable looks fancy-pantsy, not that difficult. They're all 2/2 cables. There's an easy chart. There's also written instructions. I've made this pattern before for myself. I made an adult small for myself. and it is so nice. It's my favorite hat to wear in the winter. So yeah, the antler mittens have that same cable running up the front. Okay, so that is all I have been doing lately. I seem like I breezed through that one. I hope I didn't talk too fast because my notes are about the same length as all my other notes. But I feel like I just zoomed through all of the talking. So I hope that's okay with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.